okay. That last song was by Mr. Jimmy Lunsford himself, called For Dancers Only. One of the great jazz orchestra, especially during the Harlem Renaissance and beyond. So, with that being said, my name is Odysseus, and I'm going to pass it off to Mr. Patrick Soluri to get us started.
All right, great. Welcome to the Salon Quarantine Speakeasy. And first off, I want to give a thank to our DJ, Odysseus Bailor, who you just heard spinning some tunes for our pre-show. And my name is Patrick Soluri, and I am the chief instigator at Prohibition Productions. And we're so glad that you are joining us today. This is our 21st episode. We've been live streaming all the way since April. And as many of you know, we took about a month off, and we did our last show on December 5th, which was Repeal Day, and decided to not do a holiday thing, kind of let everyone else take care of that. It's been an interesting time. So get a little focus on there. There we go. And nor do New Year's. As many of you know, New Year's Eve is one of our biggest events of the year, and we did not do it this year. We could not because of the pandemic, as you know. And we are just kicking it off with the live stream. And we've been doing this every other week for a while. We started weekly at the end of April, and then after the summer decided to go to every other week. And our plan is to continue this for the duration of the pandemic. We're planning 10 shows to go all the way through the spring. That'll get us through May, and we're hoping by that time that we'll get back to be able to start going to venues and having music, if not outdoors, then starting gradually indoors. We'll have to see. We do have a weekly e-blast that goes out. If you're not on our email list, we'll gladly sign you up. If you've joined through Zoom, we have your email and we'll add you to the list. If you're watching on Facebook or another platform, then you can just go to prohibitionproductions.com and you can sign up there. And usually every Thursday or Friday, we send out an e-blast telling you what we're up to, what's coming up, and any updates on things. So here we are. We are finally in 2021. I think we were all happy to say goodbye to 2020. It was quite a year, quite a difficult year. And I think while many of us are hopeful that 2021 is going to be a better year, it definitely started off, it was a difficult start. And, we're going to actually talk about that a little bit later. What we decided to switch, instead of doing Lindy Kitchen talking about food, we're going to talk about the events weeks. We're going to do Lindy Kitchen on another show coming up. So we're going to do just a very informal roundtable and just basically talk with some of the performers that we have on the show today. And then we're also we invited Queen Esther to join us as well. And that's going to be at the very end after all the music. So if you'd like to stick around for that, would be great. And then after that, we're going to do our after party once again with DJ Odysseus Bailor. But before that, we have a lot of great music and a lot of folks that we're excited to have on the show. And we're going to be welcoming Champian Fulton, who's a wonderful pianist. And then we have Bobby White and Jessica Miltenberger, and they're going to be debuting a video from the Harvest Moonhoppers, which they put together, which is a fantastic swing dance troupe. Then we have Cait and the Critters, and Cait's going to be joining us to talk live. And then we have some video that we shot with her over the summer in Central Park. And then we're going to be bringing Eyal Vilner on, and we've got some video of his big band that we shot over the summer and then also in November. And then after that, we're going to do this roundtable conversation, only going to be about 10 or 15 minutes long. And then we're going to do the after party with DJ Odysseus Bailor. So just to get a couple things out of the way, we obviously would welcome any donations that you are willing to make. And we appreciate everyone that's already given so far. For those of you that have joined us for the first time, essentially everyone's doing this volunteer, and we ask for donations from everybody, and then we share that amongst all the performers. And you can send that to Prohibition Productions, and we'll split it up afterwards. But you can make your donations through PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. And we ask for a minimum of $5 to $10 per person, but no amount is too small. And we take donations not only during the show, but actually all the way through next Sunday, which I believe is January 16th. So we get a lot of people that watch the show after the live stream. So we open that up, and you can make a donation at any time later. So speaking of posting of the show later, right now, obviously, we're streaming live on Zoom and on Facebook. But shortly after the show finishes, it will be posted to our Facebook page, to Prohibition Productions. And then I usually will edit together a kind of a higher res version, which we'll post onto YouTube. And that usually gets up, depending how quick I can do it, within 48 hours. So if not by tomorrow, then definitely by Monday. And that's going to be a full high resolution 1080p HD blah 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 version. So if you missed the show or you want to catch up on it, definitely check it out on our YouTube, on Prohibition Productions. With that said, I also want to mention the chat function. So if you're on Zoom, you can hit the chat button and it'll pop up either on the side of your screen or on your mobile device, and let us know where you're watching from. We can communicate with you. You can ask us questions or say anything. And we've asked everyone to just say hello if you can. We've got a bunch of folks who really loved Odysseus's playlist, which is of course great. And let us know where you're watching from. Any questions? We can also ask the performers from here. And if you're on Facebook and you'd like to join on Zoom or join for the after party later, where you can join dancing on video, you have to do that on Zoom. So with that said, I definitely want to move on to our first guest. And we are very excited to have Champian Fulton, who is a wonderful piano player. We first met her actually a couple years ago through Bria Skomberg. She was playing with Bria in her big band, which we featured on the Intrepid, and then we loved her so much we started having her on some other things. She played the Beer House, and then when quarantine happened, she has a great setup and she does a regular live stream show, and so we are gonna check in right now and say hi to Champian. How's it going?
Hi, I'm great. Nice to see everybody again.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So, how you been?
I've been great. I mean, I had a nice holiday season. I'm glad that it's the new year. A lot of changes going on for me. I'm moving into a new apartment. I'm still in the New York City area, but I'm moving into a new apartment, and I've been moving for a couple of weeks, and so everything's a little bit scattered and a little bit. I'm a little bit scattered, but I'm very happy to have a chance tonight to be a jazz musician again, as opposed to a professional mover.
How refreshing that it's refreshing to play music, not because of the pandemic, but because of something else like moving. Like, how normal.
This is true. Yes. It's the biggest thing that's happened, I guess, to me all year. I mean, because we've mostly just been at home. And yeah, but now I'll be in a different home. So there'll be a change.
So where are you moving from and to?
I'm moving from, oh, I see Jerry Feldman. Hi, Jerry. I'm moving from the Upper East Side, Manhattan to Jersey City.
I have a lot of friends, a lot of musicians are over there, and dancers. It seems to be quite the spot these days.
It is super nice, but I have to say, whenever I tell anyone I'm moving to Jersey City, they all go, "Oh, really?" Hmm. But no, I love it. It's really great, and right near the Grove Street Path Station, which is basically downtown, and there are a lot of nice restaurants and bars and shops and everything. And I will say that in New Jersey, there is still indoor dining, which is nice.
Mm. So here's a question. You probably can't answer this yet, but what's the practicing situation? Because obviously all the New Yorker musicians, we've been struggling with how do you practice and do your thing without driving your neighbors crazy. Do you have any idea what that's going to be like in your new pad?
Well, I've been really lucky in this building. I'm in my old building right now. I've been very lucky here. I haven't had any problems. In the new building, it's actually I've had my boyfriend Nick has been in that building for a long time. So we've played shows there, and I've played the piano there, and we don't have any problems with the neighbors. It's a small building, and the tenants have all been there a long time, and they know that we're musicians. And but when we're doing like a live stream or something, we just put a sign up in the hallway like, live music's happening from now until, 8 or 8:30 or whatever, and everybody's very, very supportive.
That's fantastic. Bravo. Well, it sounds like a great situation. So what do you got planned for us tonight? What are you going to play?
Well, I was just thinking about some of my favorite songs that sort of fit in with Odysseus's playlist. This first one is unusual because it is recorded by Jimmy Rushing on a video, but I have never found an audio recording of this song ever. He says, Jimmy Rushing, great singer with Count Basie, and also an Oklahoman like me. And he says that this song was popular when he was a young man, which would have been 1915, 1917. And he calls it Am I to Blame? Am I to blame for loving you? Don't know why I do. My poor heart beats for joy whenever I'm with you. Am I to blame if skies are blue? Little birdies in the trees singing lovesick melodies the whole day through. Sighing brings regret. Each day is like the day before. Trying to forget, but that only makes me love you more. So tell me why I always sigh whenever you are by my side. If I keep loving you, am I to blame? Am I to blame for loving you? Don't know why I do. My poor heart beats for joy whenever I'm with you. Am I to blame if skies are blue? Little birdies in the trees singing lovesick melodies the whole day through. Sighing brings regret. Each day is like the day before. Trying to forget, but that only makes me love you more. So tell me why I always sigh whenever you are by my side. If I keep loving you, am I to blame? Am I to blame if skies are blue? Little birdies in the trees singing lovesick melodies the whole day through. Am I to blame for loving you? Don't know why I do. My poor heart beats for joy whenever I'm with you. Sighing brings regret. Each day is like the day before. to blame? Oh, thank you. Thank you. Yeah, it's a really, I love the bridge. I think the harmony is a little bit sort of unusual. And I sort of have this theory that Jimmy took an A section from one song and a bridge from another song, and he made them into one tune in this video. It's from the Jazz Casual video with Ralph Gleason. But that is Am I to Blame? And I'd like to continue with something sort of from the similar era. And after you've gone and left me crying, after you've gone, there's no denying you will feel blue. You'll feel sad. You'll miss the dearest friend you ever had. There'll come a time, now don't forget it. There'll come a time when you'll regret it. Someday when you grow lonely, your heart will break like mine and you'll want me only after you've gone. After you've gone away.
Beautiful.
Thank you. I didn't know it was going to be that fast in my own mind, I have to say.
The bell dancer would have been happy.
Sarah Vaughan tempo. But I'd like to play something, a nice ballad for you guys. This is written by Eubie Blake and Andy Razaf. That little jukebox right over there is like a magic key. For it can take you anywhere on wings of memory. I'd give $1 for a dime. I've got to hear that record play again to carry me down the thrill one more time. Seems that song was written for us. Every word and note has charms. Our two hearts could sing the chorus as I hold you here in my arms. I'd give $1 for a dime. My aching heart is on my sleeve again. To close my eyes and make believe again. I'd give $1 for a dime to hear that record one more time. Seems that song was written for us. Every word and note has charms. Our two hearts could sing the chorus as I hold you here in my arms. I'd give $1 for a dime. My aching heart is on my sleeve again. To close my eyes and make believe again. I'd give $1 for a dime to hear that record just one more time.
Yeah. You know, so if I remember correctly, when we had Terry Waldo on the show in the fall, he did a whole tribute to UB Blanks, who he studied with, if I'm not mistaken. And he had, like, I think he was like right at the end of his life or something like that. But actually, that is on our YouTube channel if you want to check that out. But we have, yeah, Terry did his whole UB Blake tribute, and just that was awesome.
That's so cool. I mean, I love UB Blake, and I think he really doesn't get enough credit, I think, in jazz history or these days.
Mhm.
And there's some really great stuff from the end of UB's life on YouTube as well, where he plays and he talks, and even he does, is it the Dr. Pepper theme song? Have you seen that?
No,
Okay,
really?
I'll find it. I'll send you a link. Pretty funny.
Cool.
It's cool.
Do you have time for one more?
I do. I would love to play one more.
Yeah, in my mind, it's like the movers are like ready to move your piano as soon as you're done, like off in the background. But I don't think that's actually true.
There's boxes everywhere. But I will be here. I will be at this piano tomorrow too. We're doing live from lockdown tomorrow, right here, before things start getting moved. But I'd like to do this song from Harry James. I've listened to so much Harry James since the lockdowns began. I find the music just really beautiful and uplifting. And of course, this was a big hit with Sinatra and Harry, and I hope you like it. It seems to me I've heard that song before. It's from an old familiar score. I know it well, that melody. It's funny how a theme recalls a favorite dream, a dream that brought you so close to me. I know each word because I've heard that song before. The lyrics say forevermore, forevermore's a memory. Please have them play it again, and I'll remember just when I heard that lovely song before. It seems to me I've heard that song before. It's from an old familiar score. I know it well, that melody. It's funny how a theme recalls a favorite dream, a dream that brought you so close to me. I know each word because I've heard that song before. The lyrics said forevermore, forevermore's a memory. Please have them play it again, and I'll remember just when I heard that lovely song. I heard that lovely song. I heard that lovely song before.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bravo. So you actually mentioned right before you played that tune, and this was one of my questions, you're still doing your live stream. And
I'm
about it.
still doing my live stream. I haven't missed a week since the end of March, which puts us at maybe 42, 43 weeks.
Wow. Bravo.
Now we did the holidays, and I'm going to do it definitely. Yeah, I'm still doing it. I mean, mid-move, it's still happening. I'm committed.
And you're
Maybe
gonna
committed.
keep going. Like all musicians. But your plan is to keep it going until things get back to whatever the new normal is?
Yeah, absolutely. Even then, because I love it so much because it's such a great opportunity to see people. I mean, I do it on Facebook, so I don't see people, but I read their comments. I hear from everyone every week, and it's something for me to look forward to on Sundays. And I just love it. We've done so many themes, and we've done so many also non-themed shows, but it's really been the highlight for me of this past year and remains so in 2021.
Very nice. And do you have any other projects coming up that you want to tell us about?
Well, amazingly, I recorded 2 new records that will be coming out early this year. We have a duo record. So I do Live from Lockdown with my father, Stephen Fulton, And we made a CD, which is going to be called Live from Lockdown, the CD.
Wait, what does he play?
Oh, trumpet and flugelhorn. He's with me every Sunday. And we've done a lot of other shows as well. You met my father at the beer garden.
Oh, the beer house.
Beer house, yes.
Oh, oh, wow. Okay, that was like another lifetime ago, it seems.
Like 2 years ago, maybe, or a while. But anyway, we have a CD coming out, a duo CD that we recorded at Samurai Studios. Sounds really nice. And then I was also able to record an album for Venus Records, which is a Japanese record label, with my Scandinavian trio. And that will come out also this spring sometime soon. They are waiting on me to send emails. I haven't had a chance to send all the credits and everything yet.
Well, that's very exciting. Are you going to be, I guess, releasing an album during pandemic? Are you doing anything different, or is it sort of like up to the label, or?
Well, I released Birdsong, which is right here. I released Birdsong in August. That's my latest record, and it features the music of Charlie Parker. And I was a little bit nervous about releasing something, during this time. But I just did it like normal, and we had a great response. And I actually recently, like, as you start to get ready for tax season, you go back and you look at how things went. And I would have to say my fans have been so supportive with ordering online through my website. And if we release the next two albums during the pandemic, I hope that it will be the same.
That's amazing. Congratulations. Bravo.
You're the best.
Well, I think on that note, we should probably wrap things up. And I'm sure you must be tired from moving all day and playing but I guess we should probably, when you figure out when you're going to do your release dates, let us know, and maybe we can, have you back at that time. That'd be great.
I would love to. Thank you so much, Patrick. And thank you for asking me to do this today. I feel like myself again after getting to play a little and seeing everybody. So I hope everyone I know it has been kind of a rough start to the new year, but I hope that we could all have some fun and enjoyment today together. I really enjoyed it a lot.
Yes. Well, I'm so glad to hear that. Thank you so much. And till next time.
Absolutely.
All right. Take care. So that, again, once is Champian Fulton live from the Upper East Side. And I guess next time we'll be live from Jersey City. And every Sunday she does her live stream, which is called Live from Lockdown. And that's going to be tomorrow. So be sure to check that out. And we are just thrilled to see her and hear her. She swings so wonderfully and sings so beautifully. And excited to hear those new albums when they come out. So we are going to move along to our next set of guests, and we're very excited to be featuring or bringing back, I should say, Bobby White and Jessica Miltenberger, but this time it's with the Harvest Moonhoppers, which is just a fantastic dance troupe. And we had them on the Intrepid, the last Intrepid that we did, and they're just a wonderful set of New York dancers. So let's go live to Bobby and Jessica. How's it going, guys?
Hey.
Hi, Patrick.
Yeah.
So good to see you.
Good to see you. So, how are you doing? What's been going on?
Well,
dancing, quarantining, as you do.
Exactly. Yeah. I was a full-time weekend dance gigger, and so this last year has been quite a change, but it's allowed me time to. One of the blessings that's come out of it is allowed me time to do research in dancing stuff and start some other projects, which has been great. But
yeah, and yeah, just kind of trying to maintain some thread of normalcy by dancing, socially distanced from our friends now in the last couple months, which has been really cool. The product of which we're excited to show you guys today.
Yeah, so I mean, up until now, we've had you both just as Bobby and Jessica dancing twice, I believe. We did that one thing live at Prospect Park, and then you guys did some stuff in your living room. But this time it's with the Harvest Moonhoppers. So why don't you tell us about what that is?
So the Harvest Moonhoppers is a group that we are so happy working with and so pleased to like direct whatever that means, because we really specifically wanted to do a group in the style of the original Lindy Hop performance groups of New York and specifically Harlem. So we looked at the Whitey's Lindy Hoppers, we looked at Mama Lou Park's dancers, and we were like, how are they dancing? How are they putting together their performances? They're not doing large group choreography where everyone dances the same for 3 minutes. They're highlighting and shining individual couples. Those couples have individual voices that they're working on themselves. And so really, once you kind of get the rest, once you see the recipe, you're like, oh, we can cook like that.
Got the secret sauce.
Yeah. So what we do is we have groups of we have a group of dancers that before quarantine we would get together with, and the whole goal was to play around and have friends there to play around with you and inventing things and in trying out your air steps and spotting your air steps and giving lots of advice. Basically, we were like, what if we could all be coaches to each other and help each other like get, fun and exciting things out of their dancing. So basically, how can we get a group of dance friends together to just encourage the crap out of each other? And
I didn't quite realize it, but what you were saying earlier was that the Intrepid gig was the first gig of the
Yes. Yeah. We were so honored to premiere. Thank you so much for allowing us to premiere at the Intrepid. It was such a great gig to kind of kickstart the group.
Yeah, and getting to dance live to Jonathan Stout's band on the Intrepid is definitely, I mean, that's one of those things that as a swing dancer, like, you get to dance to Jay Stout live for a performance. There's almost no way it can go wrong.
You guys killed it. It was awesome. We've got that stuff on the website. If you weren't there, you should check it out. It was definitely fantastic. So tell us now, the video, we're debuting a video today that you guys put together, but now it's during quarantine. So tell us about what this is and how you did it, and how did you deal with the challenges of doing this not together?
Yeah, so quarantine, obviously the biggest issue is proximity. Like, we want to make sure our dancers are safe, and the reality of the situation is that many of us, we all live in different boroughs. Some people live with their normal dance partners, some people don't. And then some people actually were not in New York or have had to kind of move outside of New York to be with family and things like that during this time. So like Bobby mentioned, one of the real drivers for this group is this working together and being able to have that sense of community and encouragement. And so we were trying to land on a project that we could still kind of like give ourselves goals as dancers, because ultimately, like, we are a performance group. We love getting together and putting this dance in front of people. And so we wanted to find a way to do that still, but from a distance and still in like a fun collaborative way. So one of the things that we love doing as a group is Norma Miller, a really incredible original Whitey's Lindy Hopper, and my God, choreographer and actor and comedian. Like, her resume is just extraordinary. And she had a routine called Norma Stops, which, that's part of like the core of one of the things that we do in this video. And so like that was kind of a uniting moment where we could say, like, wherever you are, like whatever you're doing right now, like we all want to do this thing and then also shine all of our individual voices at the moment. So we just wanted something that was like easy for people to do, kind of whatever your mind sets in, and put it all together and then be able to like be dancing with one another from a distance.
So this is Norma Stop then?
The end part.
Yeah. So the end part, and to be specific, it's stops. Yeah. But there's a lot of different versions of stops throughout the history of the dance. And so what we did is, in working with Norma Miller a little bit, we broke down the specific version of stops that she remembered. And so it's a very specific version of stops. So take that for what it's worth, but it's just really fun.
Yeah.
Wow, very cool. All right, well, why don't we play the video? Do you want to set it up in any other way, or should we just go for it?
Yeah, so each dancer, basically, we were like, do you want one phrase or two phrases? And they were like, I'll do one or I'll do two. And so they grabbed a partner or they danced themselves and they made up the phrase or the two phrases. So you're seeing each dancer that you're seeing, they're doing their work. They're doing their dancing.
Very cool. All right, well, here we go. We've got the debut of the Harvest Moon Hoppers new video. Bravo, that was awesome.
Thank you. That was so much fun. It's always fun when you put something together and then you're like, oh, that was a blast doing.
Like after the work's over and you've gotten past that and you see it all together. It's wonderful. And also I really appreciated that just knowing the dancers, the people that are quarantined together didn't have their masks on, but as soon as people who weren't quarantined together, they danced with masks on. So I thought that was really important because we definitely believe in masking as we're dancing, with not your partner. But so you shot this in the fall, is that right?
Yeah. So basically, things were going pretty rough, you know, in New York for pretty much the spring and the summer. And then around the fall, we were like, well, is it possible for the group to meet like in parks around the city? Like if we just didn't touch each other, if we stayed like eight feet away from each other and had a big thing of hand sanitizer,
And
would we be able to, and masks, would we be able to get together and still work on stuff? And we were able to do that a couple times before the weather turned. But it was enough to be like, all right, well, let's see if we can throw together just a little project really quick. And so that's what happened.
Oh, very cool, very cool. So, do you guys have other stuff planned, other videos? Are you still teaching online? Any other online activities that we should all know about?
Oh man, so most of my current online activities are the blog Swung Over, where you can see the results of swing dancing research recently. A lot of fun stuff there. And I started a podcast with a great friend of mine, Chisomo Selemani, called Integrated Rhythm. And that is two swing dancing besties navigating the world of race and the Black experience in the world of jazz dance. And so you can find that wherever you have podcasts. We've had a lot of fun with that. And so those are the two main projects.
Yeah, as far as stuff coming up for the Harvest Moon Hoppers, we're already brainstorming ideas for 2021. Like everybody else, we're kind of just trying to keep an open mind and be as safe as possible and see kind of where the year takes us. But we'll definitely have more in the pipeline.
Awesome. Well, you definitely have to let us know, and we're happy to premiere anything that you've got coming up. So let us know.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, very cool. Well, thank you again so much, and just stay safe, keep on dancing, and we'll see you guys next time.
Yeah, cheers.
All right, cheers. So once again, that is Bobby and Jessica, and with the Harvest Moon Hoppers, and so good to see them and see everyone dancing, and some wonderful music from Jonathan Stout there. And coming up next, we have Cait Jones from Cait and the Critters. But first, I just want to mention, if you haven't done so already, we would happily accept any donations you're willing to send our way. All the donations we actually share amongst all the performers that you are seeing tonight. And you can send that to Prohibition Productions through PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle. And then we will split that up amongst all the performers that you're seeing. And you can make donations tonight, but also all the way through the next week that is coming up, all the way through next Sunday, January 16th. And we have a lot of folks that will be watching this as well after the live stream on Facebook or YouTube. We definitely recommend YouTube since it's the higher res version of that. That should be online by tomorrow night or Monday. So coming up next, as I mentioned, we have a wonderful musician and band leader. Her name is Cait Jones. She leads Cait and the Critters, and those of you here in New York know and love Cait. She's a wonderfully talented person, singer. She's plays some stringed instruments, I think a few, or I'll have to ask her about that. And she's also a visual artist. And we've featured her on many of our events. She's a regular at Beer House and a lot of the other things that we were doing in the before times and we'll be doing in the after times once we get there. But right now, let's please welcome Cait Jones. How's it going, Cait?
Hey, I'm doing all right, Patrick. All things considered, living life.
Yeah, well, good to see you.
You can tell how long I have been in quarantine based on the length of my hair, which when I was looking at photos from March was here. So I've grown this much in this time.
Well, it looks great.
Thanks. Well, you got to embrace what you got. I've also learned to cut my own bangs, which is a skill that will pay off for many years to come.
So I was stumbling around trying to remember what instruments you're playing, because you picked that up kind of recently. Is that right?
Yeah. So I first started with the ukulele back in, I'm going to say 2014. And then I switched over to the tenor guitar, which is a 4-string guitar. I tune it like a baritone ukulele. So it's the top 4 strings of the regular guitar. I've been practicing that a lot on my own. It's as with any art form, it's such a deep dive, right? There's so much you can learn infinitely forever, and it's never enough, and that's why it's a lifetime pursuit. So my appreciation for all of the musicians I work with, I already appreciated them so much, but it feels like tenfold now, knowing the hours that they've put into this. So it's been fun learning to accompany myself, thinking about space and timing, how to accentuate, etc.
Yeah, fantastic. Well, hey, have you started playing it on your own gigs yet, or are you still just sort of working on it?
Yeah, so before times, I was playing a lot of duo gigs. So I would hire a guitarist or a bassist, and I would play comping for myself, um, which was pretty much just like a basic 2/4. And I've been trying to play more with what kind of rhythms I can do. I traded lessons with Greg Ruggiero, who's an amazing accompanist and guitarist. So he was helping me a lot with that. And I've just been honing it in my copious free time. The first time I say that unironically.
Oh, yeah, well, oh, yes. So we've got this. Do you want to tell us a little bit about what we did over the summer? We have some material that we've put together from that wonderful day in Central Park.
Sure, absolutely. I got together a trio. You had a camera, which you came upon very fortunately through Young. And we threw this together kind of last minute. It was a gorgeous day. A whole bunch of people came out. It was very socially distanced, which many thanks, because I did do a gig over the summer wearing a mask, and that was as comfortable as it sounds. So for this one, I took the mask off, and it allowed me so much more projection and breathing, and not breathing a mask into my mouth, which is not fun. So yeah, we put this together in the park. It was really great. The guitarist I've worked with a lot. The bassist was new to me, but we had a great time.
Wait, what was the guitarist's name? Because he's a great player, but I didn't
Yeah.
actually recognize him.
So that's Alex Brott. He's from Sweden, and he's been living in the U.S. And he's, as far as I know, he's still in the U.S. now.
Great. Should we just hit the video? Do you want to say anything else about it?
Yeah, I just wanted to share something else I've been up to in this time, which is art, which you mentioned briefly. I've been playing around a lot with doing smaller scale pieces for sale, and doing little watercolors. So I was an art major back in school. So I've just been doing these little studies of fruit around the house, which is just a really fun passion for me. It's brought me a lot of joy, especially in a difficult week. So if you're interested in supporting an artist of multifacets and you want to buy some tiny paintings, and tiny, I mean like postcard sized. So if you don't have a lot of wall space, or you like to put things up on a table or wherever you like to put them, they are available on my website, caitjonesart.com. I'll put it in the chat for all of you. And all of you who are listening in, if you want to commission a piece, if it sells out, just contact me. I am sitting around making art, and it brings me a lot of joy right now. So I would love to make a piece for you.
And also, I just want to mention that one of our fellow musicians and one of the hot toddies, Gabe Trestiano, I helped record his trio album, and he's starting to release the singles, and Cait is doing all the artwork for that, and they're really cool. I've been really happy seeing what's the next single artwork going to be, and it's just this really cool abstract stuff. And yeah,
I work in a variety of styles, and those triangle paintings, is what I call them, are very meditative for me. So I pick a color, and there's no plan. I just start painting triangles and building them into shapes. So it's been really fun to explore art, something that, again, is a lifetime pursuit, and there's always more to learn. So I took some classes this summer, and it's been really fun to get in touch with my introverted side.
That's great. Bravo. Well, why don't we do this video, and Do you want to say anything else about it, or should we just go for it?
No, let's do it. Let's see the extroverted side.
I very much appreciate that. I think many musicians will relate to that, the introverted and extroverted side. So once again, this is Cait and the Critters, and this is some video that we shot of her over the summer, towards the end of the summer, here in New York City in Central Park at the Delacorte Theater. And want to give a special thank out to Old Young Kim for helping out with the video. He and I both shot. This was a 2-video shoot, and it was just a great, beautiful day. Here we go with Cait and the Critters.
Grab your coat and get your hat. Leave your worries on the doorstep. Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. Can't you hear that pitter pat and that happy tune is your step? Life can be so sweet on the sunny side of the street. I used to walk in the shade, all my blues on parade. But now I'm not afraid, 'cause that's over, crossed over. And if I never had a cent, oh, I'd still be so rich with gold dust at my feet on the sunny side of the street. Grab your coat, get your hat, leave your worries on the doorstep. Life can be so sweet. And can't you hear that pitter patter? That's just the sound of your feet steps. Oh, life can be so sweet on the. I used to walk right there in the shade with all my blues on parade. But now I know I'm not afraid, 'cause that river has crossed over. And if I never had a cent, oh, I'd still be very, very rich with gold dust at my feet on the sunny on the sunny side of the street. Thank you so much. Thank you. Welcome to our second set. We are Cait and the Critters. This, of course, is Central Park. We are outside the beautiful but quiet Delacorte Theater, so we figured we'd bring some music to the park and to all of you. So thank you for joining us. This is Alex Brock here on the guitar. And then we have Marty Kenny on the upright bass. My name is Cait Jones.
You know, it's funny because as musicians, we have certain songs that we're like, oh, that's not my favorite song, but people love it. And I feel like every song is my favorite song right now because I'm so happy to sing literally anything with a band. So it feels like my repertoire is fresh again. I think what I appreciate more is like just being around people So it's like not only doing what I love, but then just doing it in the presence of someone. Because there is a different kind of singing, a different kind of performance you do when you're alone home and you can practice, and you like, maybe your posture's not great and you're slumped over your guitar and you're practicing, versus when you are engaging and you have a space to actually echo out into instead of a wall that's right in front of you. So it's a different kind of breathing, a different kind of engagement and excitement.
Just in time, I found you just in time. Before you came, my time was running low. I was lost, my losing dice were tossed, my bridges all were crossed, nowhere to go. But now you're here, and I know just where I'm going, no more doubt or fear. I found my way. Your love came just in time. I found you just in time. You turned my lonely nights to lovely days. Just in time, I found you just in time. Before you came, my time was running, running, running low. I was lost, dice were tossed, bridges all were crossed, nowhere to go. But now you're here, and I know just where I'm going, no more doubt or fear. Oh, I found my way, your love came just in time. I found you just in time. You turned my lonely nights to lovely, lonely nights, to lovely, lonely nights, to lovely days. Thank you, thank you. I want to dedicate that song to my husband. It is our 3rd anniversary today. I love you.
Oh, how I met him. So when I was in Adelaide singing with Gordon Webster, I also was taking, it was a swing dance event, and there was like a week-long track. And it was my first track I took as a leader. And I had a great time. And the first night I got there, I was staying with this singer who I met through a Facebook group. I was looking for a place to stay, and it was just like Adelaide swing dance. I posted in it, "Hi, I'm a singer, I'm a swing dancer, I'm in town for this. Does anyone have a place I can crash a couple of nights before the housing starts up?" And she not only picked me up, Louise, she not only picked me up from the airport, but I ended up staying the whole time with her. She was so generous. I mean, we like were drinking wine and singing songs like the second I got there. It was just this like incredible, one of the best weeks of my life. And on the first night of it was kind of like the pre-event night where people have started to arrive, their usual swing dance night. I met Andrew, and I saw him, and there was this like, wow, he's really attractive. He must be an asshole, because attractive assholes exist in swing dancing. Like, they can't be nice. But he was like, he said for him it was very like storybook, love at first sight, just completely bowled over. And by the end of the week, I turned to him. I mean, we spent time together, like it was very romantic. It all kind of clicked. The same friend I was staying with was like, hey, I think he has a crush on you. I think you should go for it. And I was, again, that travel mentality of like, well, you only live once, whatever. And we just had the same humor. We had so much to talk about, and we fell madly in love. By the end of the week, I said to him, this sounds crazy because it's been 8 days, but I love you. And he felt the same way, and joined me. He quit his job. He sold his things, and we traveled for 6 weeks together in Asia, and then he moved here. And 3.5 years later, we're still married.
Amazing.
Embrace me, my sweet embrace, simple you. Embrace me, you just one look at you, my heart grew tipsy in me. You and you alone bring out the gypsy in me. I love all the many charms about you. Above all, I want my arms about you. Don't be a naughty baby. Come to mama, do. My sweet embraceable you. Thank you so much. Thank you. I wish I could embrace you all, but maybe another day. Virtual embraces.
I started swing dancing, there's a swing dancer named Akemi, and she's part of a program that teaches ballroom dance to 5th graders. There's a documentary called Mad Hot Ballroom that is about the program, and it came to my 5th grade classroom from my public school when I was in 5th grade, and we learned the basic steps of swing dancing and merengue, salsa, tango. I was a tall kid, so I ended up leading, and that was when I was first introduced to it. So in high school I went back to it. I just fell in love with dancing, and so I took some tango, but it was a little too serious for me at that time. And then I switched over to swing dance, which I immediately fell in love with, because the instructors said, when you make a mistake, you just have to laugh. And in tango, I was so used to like, you make a mistake and you're terrible. So to like just laugh at your mistakes felt so good. And so that's when I got into swing dancing more in high school. I took a break in college, and then the second I graduated, I came back to New York City, and I was dancing ever since.
Thank you. There will never be another you. Once again, we are Cait and the Critters. Thank you so much for joining us today in Central Park. We do have a tip jar here. It is in the form of a backpack. We greatly appreciate your tips. If you don't feel comfortable coming up with cash, we do have...
All right, there we go. Bravo, Cait. And
Oh, thank you so much. We had so much fun. You know, I totally forgot that was on our anniversary. And I think it's just a testament to what an amazing husband Andrew is, that he was willing to bike with me to Central Park to do a gig on our anniversary.
that's right. You guys biked from Brooklyn to
Queens. Yeah, we live in Sunnyside. So over the Queensboro Bridge, up First Avenue, and then across. So I probably spent more time in Central Park this year or 2020 than I have since I was a kid growing up on the Upper West Side. So it was, yeah, and it was all biking. It was biking there and doing the loop. So it was magical. I just want to make a quick shout out to all the dancers in that video and their energy feeding us. I feel so strongly about how important it is, how much I appreciate them, how much their being present just helps draw attention to the band. So thank you all for coming, and thank you all for coming right now. It's been an honor to be here, and to my family in Adelaide for tuning in 13 and a half hours ahead of us. Luckily, it's morning at a decent time, so it all works out. So love to you all. Can't wait to see you in person.
Oh, thank you, Cait. And is there any other online things that you want to tell anyone about, or any upcoming projects to let us know about?
Absolutely. I have a new album. I recorded it in January 2020, and I will be releasing it in May. I'm so excited. Mariel Bildston, a fantastic trombonist and composer, music directed it and did the arrangements. So I collaborated with her on how I like to sing the songs, and it just felt so like this is what I want. I am so proud of how it sounds. It's an amazing band. I can't wait to share it with you guys. So stay tuned at Cait and the Critters, CAIT Cait on every platform, Instagram, Facebook, Bandcamp. Just stay tuned with us. I can't wait to share the album with you.
Awesome. Well, can't wait to hear that. And thank you so much for being with us today and sharing your music and your visual art and your energy and your smile.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Patrick. Love you all. See you soon.
All right. Take care. And once again, that is Cait Jones from Cait and the Critters. And so lovely to see her. And again, that video was shot this summer in Central Park. And special thank you to Old Young Kim for helping us with the equipment and for the video shooting as well. And so we've got one more musical act coming up, and then afterwards we are going to do a short roundtable discussion, and then we're going to do the after party. And we are running a little bit behind schedule, so apologies for that. But we've got some more great stuff coming up, and I would actually like to bring up our next guest, and his name is Eyal Vilner. And as many of you know, he's a wonderful musician and band leader. His big band has become a staple on the New York scene. And we started having his smaller bands at the Beer House a few years ago, which then culminated in him playing on the Intrepid, which was definitely one of the highlights of that event. And they've played all over, and we're just very excited to have him back. So let's say hello to Eyal Vilner. How's it going, Eyal?
Hey, Patrick. How are you?
Hanging in there. How about you?
Hanging in there. It's so lovely to see everyone and to see you and to hear everyone's music. It's great to have a little feeling of our old lives and some hope for a better future.
Yes, indeed. What have you been doing to keep busy lately? Like, you always have a million things going on.
That's true. It hasn't been too easy. It's not an easy time for everybody, for a lot of us, and personally for me, it's not a great time personally. And yes, I am usually very, very active, and now I'm forced not to I'm not able to do what I love and what I'm hopefully good at in sharing with the world. So it's been difficult, and but yeah, we're still trying to be creative. I'm working on some new music now, that hopefully I'll be able to share with everyone sometime soon. But in addition to that, our summer to fall, since Ronnie and I moved back from Paris back to New York, has been very special. The opportunities for us to share music live in Washington Square Park every weekend was very special. And we're actually working on releasing an album that was recorded live at one of the last gatherings that we've done in Washington Square Park. So this is one of the things I'm working on. There are a couple of other projects that are kind of on hold, but yeah, that's one of them.
It's actually a great segue. So the video that we've prepared for tonight actually is a combination of one of the first videos that we ever shot, which was all the way back in August, the beginning of August. We have 2 tunes from that, and then we have one of the last things that we shot, which was in November. And it's like working with Eyal and seeing the band. We sort of tracked almost the whole pandemic from him in Paris to getting back to New York. And that, if I'm not mistaken, that first video that we shot of the big band was the beginning of your big band series in Washington Square Park.
Absolutely. More than that, it was the first time I left the house, because I, coming from Paris, I did the travel quarantine for 2 weeks. And that was the first day that I was out. And under normal circumstances, we would celebrate it differently, but I decided to anyway do something. And even though playing outside wasn't a thing so much back then, I figured, like, what the heck, we're gonna do a homecoming show in Washington Square Park. And it was wonderful and special and weird and frightening, with the pandemic and everything, with us getting together for the first time in a very, very long time. And for a lot of us musicians, it was the first opportunity to step outside of the house and to play with other human beings, to blend together and to phrase together and to just play live music with live human beings. That is just such an important part of our lives and who we are and our craftsmanship and all of that. So it was an interesting experience, overwhelming in a lot of ways and wonderful in a lot of ways. And then the second segment that we were going to watch is from one of our last ones. That was, like, I think the first weekend of August, the first one. The last one is somewhere around middle of November, which was a special middle or beginning of November, because it was a special day as itself, for itself. It was one day after they announced, they called Biden as the next president. And it was such a crazy, wonderful weekend in New York. It was after, needless to say, so much madness, which we're still stuck in. But so much madness politically and on all levels. And also just like winter we had like a rough week or 2 weeks. And that was like a perfect weekend where there was some sort of hope in the air, and the weather just, it was sunny and wonderful. And we got outside, and there were so many people just like, with hope in their eyes. And the energy there was just fabulous.
And that's the energy that went into recording the live album. So it's actually quite something special. It's a little sneak peek. So also, I just wanted to point out the first 2 videos or the first 2 songs that we're going to see are from the August, which is the smaller big band. And I think it's the 10-piece, and then the ones in November is the full big band.
Big band, yeah.
Do you want to preface that, and then maybe we'll show the video?
I think we can watch it. It's interesting. I mean, it's, it's just so, whenever we got together and whenever I'm watching these videos or listening to the tracks, it's just so special to, to hear my friends and colleagues and just wonderful, wonderful musicians that, uh, we've just been apart for so long. And this literally was the last stage left for us, for any large ensemble, even for any small ensemble at that time, especially now when jazz clubs and venues are either forced to close or, or are falling apart and collapsing. Going out to the street and just like, find a space where we're comfortable and we feel safe and we can socially distance from one another. Like you'll see it in the videos, the saxophones sit, one bench away from each other, which is like so far in normal days. In the brass are like, a couple of steps back on the grass behind us. We found like this situation where we can all feel safe and comfortable, and just being able to make music together and get together as human beings and as musicians was just a very, very special moment and experience in these super dark times.
Very well said. Very beautiful. Well, why don't we go ahead and share that? So once again, this is Eyal Vilner and his big band shot in Washington Square Park on 2 different days. So here we go.
1, 2. This is the first time we played together in a year or something. It's so amazing to be back here. Jordan Patel on the tenor saxophone. Our trumpet section, Wayne Tucker. Bruce Harris. Dan Blankenship on the trumpet. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2. over here. Keep your mask on. Stay safe. We'll see you in a bit. I started playing saxophone and reeds a little later. I started up as a violinist and I was playing classical violin as a kid for about 6 or 7 years. And somewhere around the end of middle school, I felt like it wasn't my love and my passion, and I wasn't like running home to practice, and I was looking for all kinds of other styles of music. And my music history teacher made me a cassette tape, a mixtape, and one side was Irish violin and the other side was Stefan Grappelli and Django Reinhardt playing jazz on violin. And I found myself fast forwarding the Irish side more and more and going back to the jazz side, for those of you who know what tape is or remember what tape is. And then I started exploring, and I heard the saxophone and Charlie Parker and all kinds of other amazing saxophone players who just inspired me so much, and that was it.
So you started on sax and then worked your way into the
I did, yes. I started the reed world, in the saxophone, then I added the clarinet, then the flute and piccolo, and expanded to other horns, other saxophones as well, tenor and soprano.
What's your main instrument in your heart?
I think the alto saxophone. That's the one. I love all of them, and each of them has a special place in my heart. on the tenor saxophone. I think as a composer, arranger, I'm spoiled because I can, you know, the big band is another one of my instruments. I really see it that way, you know, and I have like master musicians. I'm lucky to have such amazing musicians in my band, so I could, you know, write for a real clarinetist to play it. I mean, I can play it as well, you know, but you know, the pencil or the big band, I really see it as another instrument and another way to express myself and to, you know, make music and make stories. This is my job and my hobby and like my love, you know, so I'm really trying to find creative ways to keep on doing that in new ways.
All right, bravo.
Thank you.
Forgot what a beautiful day that was. Just and that last tune at sunset. I mean,
Yeah, it was very special. Definitely on all levels. It was special, and it's strange and emotional to look back at it. You know, the fact that we can't get together again doing that, at least until the spring, sometime in the spring. I don't know. Also, maybe I'm a little dark today, but like we really had more hope on that day than I feel like, you know, is around. I mean, I really hope for a better days and, you know, change coming soon. But it's just like, you know, it's special to see this memories from that day.
yeah, yeah. How many how how many weeks had you been performing in Washington Square Park? Because the first, just to make sure that the first two songs were at the very beginning of August, and the last two songs were in mid-November, and it was at every week you had basically did that in Washington Square Park, right?
Right. We played there every Sunday afternoon for almost 4 months, I think. I can't remember when exactly. We played one or two more after that November day that we recorded. Then the weather was just too cold for us. You can see, I'm looking back at pictures, you know, like end of the show pictures, and see like, you know, how many more layers we've been wearing every week. Like the last one was like, you know, with the heavy down coats and, you know, big wool hats and stuff like that. And it was too much. And also like the numbers, the pandemic, the Corona numbers were just like, you know, starting to rage up again. And it just didn't feel safe to do it anymore.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, it was interesting to see so many dancers out and Ice tearing it up in the front.
Always.
So stylish. And also the full 15-piece big band. I mean, it sounds amazing and so full.
Thank you. Yeah, and it's great, you know, to hear it back, because even like listening to the live streams that we did from my phone, the balance between the different sections, it was just one microphone and just like a simple iPhone microphone, you know. But I mean, here we heard more than one microphone, and we invested more in the recording quality. But generally speaking, it was just so wonderful to hear the band blending amongst the different instruments by itself, which is how we usually like to play anyway. But just to you know, in the open space, and Washington Square Park has these special acoustics, like you hear the reflections from the buildings around it. And you know, some friends and just people told me that they've been walking all the way from 6th Avenue hearing us, like, you know, getting closer and closer, which is a long block away from where we were standing. So I don't know, it was just something very organic and very New York, you know, to like, it was really one of a kind moments where we were able to somehow find a way to still be together and make music together and get together as human beings and musicians. And, you know, I've been talking a lot about it, but my love to the Lindy scene and the swing scene and the relationship between the dance and the music is something I'm very passionate about, and it's very dear to me. So, you know, for all of us to find a space where we can get together outside, where, you know, we can feel safe and we can celebrate what we love and do that in any way, that was just a very special moment, you know, after the world kind of stopped completely, and then found, or we were trying to find new ways of how to getting together again, and before we locked down again. So it was just a very special time.
Yeah, I think we were talking about when we would shoot that, and I started to get very worried in October that the weather was going to be bad and the timing was going to be good. And then this like weekend opened up in November, right after the election, and we didn't realize, of course, that was also the day after it was called. So it ended up being this kind of like beautiful little moment, and
it was a magical moment. Yeah,
capture a live album. So very much looking forward to seeing what happens there. Just out of curiosity, how many of those Sundays that you were playing in Washington Square Park, was it the smaller big band versus the larger big band?
I can't remember if it was the first one or the first two that we did the condensed version of the big band, the 10-piece. But at least after the third week, if not the second week, it was already the full big band.
Which is actually amazing. For those of you that don't know, I mean, this was not playing a gig in a club where everyone got like a solid paycheck. This was playing in a park, you know, based on tips, and the fact that all the musicians would come out is pretty amazing for that long, and to be able to keep that up. I mean, keeping a regular gig is hard enough, but then keeping a regular gig with a 15-piece big band is like, I can't even imagine all the logistics you had to deal with putting all that together.
As far as logistics, you're right, and I've been known to be a little crazy with organizing large ensembles and stuff like that, and I don't really recommend it to anybody unless they really really want to do it. But surprisingly, and it has good sides and bad sides to what I'm about to say, we were making relatively, to jazz in New York terms, relatively decent money, sometimes more than we would make on a normal club date. Which is great because our audiences really stepped up and supported us, and we are so grateful for that. And on the other hand, it just like showcased like how messed up things were before, where you would make sometimes far less than what you should get for a club date in New York and other places as well. It's both things at the same time, but I'll end on a brighter note, which was, it was an opportunity for us to connect more directly with our audience and with people from the community and from people who just appreciate live good music, hopefully, and were willing and able to support. And this is something that we definitely need, and we definitely appreciate.
For sure. And just to put you on the spot for a second, what are your thoughts on the live album? Because we have a few people here in the chat that are very excited to purchase it when it comes out. So any idea on what you're planning in terms of time frame and whatnot?
It's a good question. Some of it has to do with budget, unfortunately, which there is none. I'm not sure if I'm going to do like a small crowdfund or try to do it another way. I guess since you did put me on the spot, I'll open it up that if people are interested in supporting making this album happen sooner than later, they can, we have a donate button on our website and they can contact me directly. But hopefully I'll come up with a strategic specific plan, and I'll be able to say here is how you can support making it happen. The original idea was really to document this super special time in our history as a band, and maybe in the history of the city and the world, but also to help us get through the winter as much as possible. Like the idea was to cut the costs to the minimum possible, the absolute minimum possible, in order to make it happen, and to split all of the monies amongst us all 15 musicians. So yeah, I guess if you want to support that, keep in touch, Facebook, Instagram, Eyal Vilner Big Band, all these good stuff. Feel free to reach out directly as well. And yeah, I hope it'll be available. It's hard to tell, but hopefully maybe end of February, beginning of March, something like that.
Okay, great. Well, very excited to see and hear and be part of all this. And there is something very hopeful about hearing the music. But before
I should say, sorry to cut you, but I should say that you were the one who helped us record and videotape the whole thing. So thank you, and all credits for you for, putting it together. And the mix that we've heard is something that you've done, and it sounds great already. So Yeah, so thank you, Patrick.
Oh, you're very welcome. I mean, I guess we can't stress enough that those of us that work in music, how hard it's been to not have that in our lives in the last, almost year now. And so something like this is very special. And I think, even as you can see in the video from the dancers and the people there, there's this like spark. And I think this appreciation for what's happening, because we could say that we all took it for granted before and it's taken away as it has been. I think moments like that, which are rare, are even more special than they are in normal times. And so thank you, Eyal, for doing that, and just kind of wonderful to track the progress of the band and just hearing it from that, like that first video was, I think, the first tune that you guys played in a year, and then hearing, that last tune in the video was, I think, like tune number 16 of that day in November, and you've been playing for 14 weeks in a row, and it's amazing. It all sounds good, but it's just like there's a thing going on, which is really awesome. And I think the energy of that day, and glad we're all part of it.
Thank you. Yeah.
Cool. Well, I guess we will call that, and thank you for being with us, Eyal, and we'll definitely keep everyone updated on the progress of the live album, and then whenever that magic date happens that it's going to be released, we will try and put something together, hopefully here on the show, and just kind of make sure that you're all aware of it. If we're doing our job, you will know what's happening. So we are looking forward to that and to hearing that. So thank you, Eyal.
Thank you, Patrick.
All right, great. Well, so I think at this point, we are at the end of our musical program of bands and live music and things like that. I do want to remind everyone once again that we are accepting donations on behalf of everybody that is featured on tonight's show. And you can send that to PayPal, Venmo, or Zelle of Prohibition Productions, and that will be distributed amongst everyone. You can donate all the way through next Sunday, the 16th. There are links on our Facebook page and on our website, and I will post it once again here on the chat. And I thank everyone that's made donations so far. And we will be getting this video up on our YouTube probably in the next 48 hours. If you're watching this after the fact, please make those donations. And it'll be on Facebook later tonight. So what we're going to do now is, I know we're running pretty behind schedule, but I think we've had some pretty amazing people so far in performing in music. And we're still going to do an after party with DJ ODYSSEUS BAILER. But before we do that, because of the events of this week, we decided to cut our Lindy Kitchen segment, which was usually where we talk about food. And we're going to have a very informal roundtable discussion about the events that has happened this week. Those of you that watch the show on a regular basis, we usually are not very political in terms of what we show, but we have, when we need to, we do address things. As many of you know, in June, when all the protests were happening, the Black Lives Matter protests, we had a solidarity concert, and then we had our Juneteenth concert with which Queen Esther helped lead with us. And this week, as excited as we were to get past 2020 and have New Year's, this week has been very difficult. I think we're all processing it. We're all trying to figure out what's going on, what that means for us. And we're all alone and we're all quarantined. So I just thought, let's just do a short, informal conversation. This is by no means a in-depth, lengthy talk about it. We just don't have the time for that. So there are places for that. We're just going to try and just come together as basically just the people that are on the show tonight that want to participate. We're going to have a kind of a short conversation about that. So Everyone that wants to participate, that's in our backstage area, please jump in, and we will. I'm going to switch this to our kind of group view, and we can kind of get started there. So basically, it's everyone that you've seen so far. We have Eyal Vilner, we have Bobby and Jessica, we have Cait Jones, and then we also have Queen Esther, who I guess we either talk about food or politics on the show. So Queen's here, and then we have ODYSSEUS BAILER, our DJ, who also has written a lot about jazz history, and so why don't we let's see, is this in the gallery view now? Okay, there we go. Now we're in the gallery view. So if you guys want to unmute your microphones, we can kind of open this up. So my thought was I had posed just 2 questions. These are really just meant to get the ball rolling, and we can kind of start with that. We don't have to stick to this necessarily. But the first question is, of everything that happened this week, what affected you the most, and what would you like to see done in response? So I open up to you, whoever wants to take it.
Sure, I'll start. I think I just want to shout out, for me, obviously, I ended Wednesday feeling very traumatized by what had happened, but I was also just so angry at what it overshadowed with Wednesday morning, because it was such a huge victory in Georgia, thanks to a large amount of decades amount of work of organizers who have been on the ground, knocking on doors, working really hard, and getting out the Black vote, and all of the Black voters who won Georgia for us. I am so grateful for that victory, and it has made Biden's presidency and what he can do so possible. And so that is a huge victory that was it was attempted to take it away from us, and I don't think we should let that slide. And I think what we can take from that, what we can learn from it, is that with organization, we can do so much. With good organization, with listening to each other, with working together, we are capable of so much. And we have so much to learn from what they did in Georgia on the ground, really listening to people, really listening to voters, and really finding out what they want and making promises that they can keep, as opposed to these grandiose political messages. It's like, what are the things that we can actually do? So.
And just to jump in for a second, those of you that aren't on the chat here on Zoom, I just want to point out that Lily just wrote a message here. She is from Atlanta, Georgia, and she just she says, heartfelt thanks from Atlanta, Georgia, to all that donated or wrote postcards in support of our successful U.S. Senate election on January 5th. They tried to steal our joy on January 6th, but our hearts are still full. Thank you. There we go.
Nice. Well, I guess I'll go next. Hello, everyone. It's great to see you all during these crazy times. And miss everyone. And thank you, everyone. You know, Patrick already said this, but thank you, everyone who is tuning, who has tuned in and is going to tune in the coming days and weeks. For me personally, when I was watching all of that, I'm one of those individuals of there needs to be repercussions, hardcore. I'm definitely not one of those. It's just you broke the Constitution, you get consequences for it. You know, you go to jail, the whole thing. Unseating the members of the Senate and the House representatives who allowed all of this to happen. So I'm definitely on the side of it says in the Constitution, if you aid in this stuff, then you don't deserve to have the privilege to represent the U.S. citizens in the House or in the Senate. But mostly for me, before it happened, was seeing all the GOP people, GOP, I think House side stand up and applaud. I think, no, that's on the Senate side. Stand up and applaud with the first attempt to kind of debate or reject the vote of Arizona, and then seeing everyone kind of stand up and applause. It kind of reminded me of Star Wars, Padme's speech when she says, "This is how democracy dies," in thunderous applause. I was thinking, I'm like, oh my god, that's crazy. But yeah, it was just really kind of like I got like a chill a little bit, and I'm just like, what is going on right now? So so that's how I felt. I was just really, really upset, and just talking to my mom when it really got like really serious about it. So yeah, that's how I feel about it. I just think that they all need to go to jail for a long time, like the Constitution says, or Bill of Rights says, and just never be able to hold office again, or even run for any kind of office, and stuff like that. So yeah, that's how I felt, and obviously there's the unfortunate racial component of it all too. But I'm not gonna get into that. But yeah, that's what I really got me, because I love history. I love social sciences and social studies and stuff like that. So seeing all of that and knowing historically like where a lot of that stuff comes from, and it's still persistent today, was just like really, really, people. So yeah. So that's all I have to say about it before I get off on a rant. I'm gonna let other people talk.
I'll hop in and just say, I think the thing that struck me most this week, as I've been processing this, has been the overwhelming importance of words. Like, it was very inciting, hateful, but also very like off the cuff rhetoric that led to the events this week. And yet it was also like very thoughtful conversations that led to, retaking the Senate. All of those, I think, there's a lot that gets talked about with people citing freedom of speech to basically say, whatever they want. And I absolutely firmly believe in freedom of speech as a right. But I also think that with it comes a great responsibility to use those words thoughtfully. And right now, I think we're living in a time where a lot of our leaders are throwing around words like they have less meaning than they do. And I think this week was two very powerful reminders, one really, really profoundly disappointing, and one very encouraging of what the power of words can actually accomplish.
Okay. Here's what I think. Can y'all hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I can like barely hear myself. I think that it's pretty clear that we live in two Americas. I think that what I saw when I saw them rush the Capitol the way that they did, that same energy is history repeating, history being cyclical. That's the same energy that they've used with us as African Americans for a very long time. Simply lynching someone because they bumped into you in the street was commonplace for an extremely long time. The Department of Justice was created after the Civil War ended so that Black people could be defended from things like that, and we never were. And carrying out that kind of mob rule was commonplace for us. So now that they can't go down the street and do that on the Black side of town or in a Black neighborhood or to Black businesses and families who are hardworking and tax paying and who just want to mind their own business, as they did back in the day. Now they've decided to turn it on the federal government. And I don't know that anything will happen to them. I don't know that anyone will be prosecuted and sent to prison for an extremely long period of time. I mean, look, 14,000 people were arrested during the Black Lives Matter protests. 14,000, think about that. And they've only arrested maybe 80 people over this. And all the lynchings that have happened where people went out and found someone that they felt like lynching, whether they were guilty or not, that was Black, and they had picnics and ate sandwiches and brought their children and took pictures and sent postcards back and forth. None of those people have ever gone to jail or gone to prison or seen the inside of a courthouse or was ever punished for any of those things. So why should I expect them to be punished now? I'd be I'm not surprised that the FBI is doing something about it, but that was thousands of people. That was a lot of people. They all deserve to be in jail. Remember, Trump reenacted some sort of clause during Black Lives Matter that said, if you desecrate a federal building, that's 10 years in prison automatically. So these people, all of them, some of them brought their children. They brought their kids. You know, one of those zip tie guys, he brought his mom. They should all be going to prison under that law. And I don't think they will. I mean, I think there'll be some embarrassment. Maybe some people will get called out on social media, but I don't know. Until I see that level of justice, not just for them, but for all of the people, including the politicians who instigated this, that's really not, that's not the America. I mean, it's like what did I tell someone the other day? It's like a weird relationship where you're a battered wife and you're just hoping that things will be okay. You've got to see the situation for what it is before you can change it, right? You've got to look at this person and say, I don't think this is working out, or you've got to say, this is what it is. So instead of saying, this isn't who we are, it is who we are. This is exactly who we are. And this domestic terrorism is who we've been for an extremely long time. What we do to end it, that's what we should be asking ourselves. And I don't really hear anyone asking that. They're just saying, this is not America. This is not who we are. So.
Yeah, I mean, I think Jessica was talking about how powerful words can be and how we've kind of forgotten that. I think one thing that, coming from a family of visual artists, the imagery has been very powerful. Like just seeing the hypocrisy of the images of the police presence for the Black Lives Matter protests in DC, and then seeing the lack of it for this protest, which they knew about. Everyone knew it was happening. They knew there were going to be armed protesters, and the possibility, the professionals that protect places like the Capitol, they do that for a living. They know what to expect. So for them to conveniently not be aware that that was going to happen or could happen is ridiculous. And I think there's starting to be, there's not enough, but there's starting to be talk of, this doesn't make sense. This does not up. There is some kind of collusion thing happening here, and I really hope that something is done about it. It needs to be done. And I think what Queen is saying, that the expectation is that nothing will be done, is what has been happening in the past. The optimistic side of me would like to see that change starting now. Like all that's happened over the last year, all that we've been through, I think the quarantine and the pandemic has sort of like focused a lot of things, because we can't get distracted by the stuff we normally are in life. And I really hope that one thing that's going to come out of this is an awareness of what's been happening more so, especially seeing the protests happening all over the country during Black Lives Matter. Is this going to be a moment that things really change? I really hope so.
Well, the things that everybody always says that, like across the board, no matter whenever we have these big issues, whether it be BLM or since of either innocent Black people being killed for whatever reason, or any kind of like LGBTQIA issues that happen. It's just that whenever we have like these big explosive powder keg incidents, everyone always says, like, we should learn from this and let's be better and be better and be better. But then 2 months pass, 3 months pass, 4 months pass, and we're right back in this exact situation, right? We all become complacent. We all kind of like ignore it because we do have, our own lives to live. But at the same time, those people or those individuals or groups that either try to bring awareness the appropriate way, the legal way, always gets, shouted down to or minimized or or disregard their issues because some other faction group wants to look at some conspiracy stuff, you know? And it's just that then nothing ever gets done because the same, politicians that, want to all of a sudden speak out against all of this were the same ones that helped cause all of this. So that's why I'm to the point of just kind of like throw them in jail, right? And then get people who truly want to put country over party and truly see this country be forward. And to kind of piggyback on what Queen Esther said, and I'm sure other people have said as well, is that it's hard for a group of people to acknowledge that they're doing anything wrong when they never taken the time to actually face their demons, right? And this country's demon is slavery, and if you want to even go before slavery, the whole aspect of like almost eradicating Native Indigenous people, on this land, and those two issues, as serious as horrific as they are, they never really have been dealt with in an honest, respectful, meaningful conversation or action without somebody, still wanting to keep this mentality that, well, I'm white, I'm better, or I'm this and I'm better than you, so I want to keep on to this power. It's really about power. So until this country as a collective whole, Black, white, Asian, Latin, whatever, face this issue or face the really tough discussion of this and have a somewhat respectable conversation about it, then we're I'm hate to be like the Debbie Downer in this, but we're going to be right back in the same situation again, but with something else that's going to explode, and then we're going to be having these conversations all over again. Yeah.
Well,
yes, Esther.
It's even more basic than that. Look at I look at the school books that my nieces and nephews have been reading, and they don't acknowledge that Native Americans were here beforehand, or that genocide. They don't acknowledge that African Americans basically built this country. It starts and it begins and ends with immigrants. And it's a kind of truth, but it's not actually the facts. It's not actually historical facts. I mean, you've got 30 or 40 years of really bad schooling where you're not teaching civics or social studies or anything like that, or why it's important to vote, or what any of those things mean. And people don't read anymore. I mean, critical thinking skills. I mean, all of this is compounded. It's all running together to create all this, on top of a history that keeps repeating that people won't even acknowledge. So there's a lot of stuff to it. There's a lot of layers to it. It's not anything that can't be dismantled. I just don't feel that it's for me to dismantle it.
No, yeah, you're absolutely right. It's not. It's not on any one person. It's like to dismantle, like all like other people's or other groups of people's issues that they're either hung up on or whatever the case might be. But as a collective whole, as a country, it's like this is something that we haven't we haven't truly honestly faced. Like to truly find a solution to get rid of the systemic things that have been put in place in the country to keep people of certain economical status in their economical status, and making it hard for them to truly get up like financially, or even education wise, whatever the case might be. So I mean, this is just one thing. It's a plethora of things, but like we have like not really, as you said, taking the time to educate people like on the source of this or the rough source of these issues. It's just kind of like, you don't have people who aren't educated enough or want to educate themselves. Then you have, people that are just going to just be reactionary and not think of, as you said, how do we come to a reasonable solution to this without understanding how it got to this point to begin with.
Look, there's a lot of people who don't believe that systemic racism exists or that institutionalized racism exists. They just think that Black people are overreacting. I mean, how do you convince? I don't even know where to begin with that.
Yeah.
I mean, I really hope that people who see the imagery of and like these side by side comparisons, Black Lives Matter protest in DC over the summer, what happened on Wednesday in DC and just the hypocrisy of it. I mean, like, I just, if this is the aha moment, finally. But like, I really hope that, and I think you're right, people need to be held accountable. I mean, if Trump's not held accountable for what's happening here, it's just going to keep on happening. And then the problem is that as a democracy that's looked up to around the world, if we let this happen, then, you know, I mean, the parallels of what happened in Germany, you know, 10 years after, was it 10 years after Hitler was kicked out in 23 was when the dictatorship started, you know? I mean, like, the danger and the precedent is there if we're not paying attention. And the problem, I think, like you're saying about the education, is that that's where you can introduce false narratives and lie, and people don't question it or realize what's behind some of these things. And it's unbelievable that we're at this point, but at the same time, it's not. You know, I mean, we've all seen it. We've all grown up in this to get to this point, and it's got to change. It really does.
Or, well, right. I
Well,
mean, I would like to believe that it's going to change. I would like to believe that.
yes.
And I think that conversations like this are in a way like guerrilla warfare. It's like hand-to-hand combat. It's the conversations that you have at 1 o'clock in the morning over a glass of wine when you're talking to someone and you're actually exchanging ideas. But more often than not, that doesn't necessarily happen for me when I go to other places. It happens a lot more for me if I'm in certain circles. You know, after a certain point, we're all talking to each other about the things that we know to be true. I don't necessarily know how to have that conversation with someone that isn't listening.
Well, let me ask a second question here, because I think, right, like, we're all talking about the reaction to what's just happened, but what can we do, or what can you do, or what would you like to see done within our community of dancers, musicians, vintage people, that can help bring about some kind of positive change in the next few months? I mean, we've all been through something. We've all been through the pandemic. We've all been through everything that was 2020. And I don't think any of us want that to happen again. And even though maybe we can't affect everything, we do have people around us. We do have a community around us. And
I think this is kind of a weird question because in many ways you come to the swing scene wanting to get away from all of that. You want to have fun, you want to dance, you want to listen to a really great band in front of you. I mean, you sit at home listening to big bands on albums, and then to have one coming at you with all that great sound is overwhelming. And the community is so warm and loving and, you know, decent. It would really be interesting to know what everyone's politics were and how all of that susses out in an environment where you think you're safe from all of that. So I think maybe the solution is that we talk. I mean, what you're doing here is amazing. It's amazing that you're even bringing this up and that people, you know, all over the world can see it. I was talking to a friend of mine in Sweden, and he said, you know, conversations with you give me a lot of hope. With you, I get a glimpse into America. I get a glimpse into New York, and I can actually talk to an actual American, and they can tell me these things, and I think about it, and I know. And I think that's where it begins and ends. But it has to be the kind of conversation that's give and take, and that's open and respectful, and all those things. That's really important, that we're not just talking, but that we're listening. I think everybody is a kind of library, even if you've only got one book on the shelf. And we all have things that we can all teach each other. But with that understanding, there's some things that we've got to get straight. We all have to be, there are things that should be understood. The definition of systemic racism should be understood, of white supremacy should be understood, of accountability, not just with the people who are part of this insurrection, but accountability with you as an individual, who you voted for, what you believe, why you believe the things that you do, and how, even though you may not necessarily be wearing a Klan hood, and wouldn't dare call yourself racist. The fact that you may have voted for a white supremacist is my undoing. You're doing harm to someone like me, whether you acknowledge that or realize that or not. That's really, really important. I don't know. I know some people. I'm from Atlanta. Lily, I know she's probably still listening. Yeah, I grew up in Atlanta. Went to high school at North Atlanta Performing Arts High School, and I know that in my little community, everybody rejoiced. We live in, like I said, in two different Americas. We were we throw our own parades. We don't necessarily wait for anyone to say it's okay, you can have a parade now. When I go home for Christmas, I go see Black Santa. I'm not sitting around waiting for someone to tell me it's okay to have one. So yeah. we've gotta keep talking about these things, and people have to be a certain kind of honest. And I think that because we've had this community for as long as we have, and because it's such a safe place, it could happen here. It could happen for us here.
I think Queen said it so well, but I don't know, for me as an immigrant, non-citizen Jewish person,
Parisian.
Want to be Parisian. No, but to see what's going on in the world and in the US that's leading the, this wave of what's going on around, and to see the white nationalists, fascist, far-right groups displaying so much power in, going into the Capitol like that and displaying racist symbols and anti-Semitic symbols and Confederate flags. It's really just scary, and kind of segueing to what you just asked about our community. I mean, specifically a community that celebrates Black American art form, music and dance, should be actively anti-racist as much as in every way we can.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
To understand the history and the present of systemic racism and actively do something about it is, it's just.
I think it's interesting.
Yep.
Oh. Right. Actually, this is kind of for you. Like, as New Yorkers, I think we forget that, we're in such a melting. Like, I grew up here. I sometimes can't imagine people that aren't in such a melting pot where you see so many different kinds of people all the time. And also for our love of jazz and swing dancing, again, New York City is such a important place for all of that. And in terms of the swing community here, I feel like it is welcoming and open and things like that. I haven't traveled enough to know what that's like elsewhere, and I really hope that it is. But I know, and I'm glad, like, for example, you, Odysseus, you go around and you give talks about that awareness to other swing scenes. And I think that's super important, especially right now. In a way, this kind of grassroots idea that it's not just politics that's somewhere over there. I mean, this music that you like, this dance that you like, it's all connected. I mean,
exactly.
Like if you think about in New York City, the cabaret laws, which were like super racist from the Prohibition era, those only got off the books 2 years ago.
Yep.
Mm-hmm. Insane. That was laws were to prevent white and blacks from dancing in jazz clubs in the 30s, and somehow that managed to last all this time up until a couple of years ago. I mean, like the work.
I to the question of like what can we do better as a scene, something that I've been kind of slowly saying out loud, is that as instructors and organizers and musicians in the scene specifically, I feel like, and this is something that I'm been definitely trying to do better myself as well, is that we need to be a better bridge between of sharing the history that we are learning, reading books, watching documentaries, to complement like the steps or, you know, the things that we're showing them. We need to not be afraid to also, you know, talk about like the tough things, the tough things that needs to be talked about, but to do it respectfully. I'm always on the side of like, be respectful when you do talk about it and not to yell down at anyone. But we need to be a better bridge about it. We need to not be afraid to respectfully, you know, tell an organizer from a dance scene that's outside of a diverse state or city that, hey, that comment that you made about this aspect of the music and the dance, you know, we need to be careful of how of saying that, because, you know, it's really kind of being dismissive of these situations that that African Americans had to live through back during segregation and Jim Crow laws, if not slavery. And that's something that, being from Florida originally, from Gainesville, Florida, go Gators. And so, but Gainesville, Florida, though, is kind of like a centrist conservative, because there's the University of Florida, so we get students from all over. But once you go like outside of that, it is very country, and it's just like, so you do deal with a lot of people that are extremely you know, still stuck back in the day. And so being able to have conversations with those individuals, or not being afraid to talk to them, is it's very important. And that's why I think that we can do it, but like, it's just the tone, that it's all about the tone and how you present this information to people, you know? And I feel like myself, and I'm sure with other people, especially with, you know, Bobby and Jessica and Queen Esther and everyone like that, the reason that we're able to respectfully and confidently talk about some of these things is that even ourselves had to work on the tone of how we talk about these conversations with other people. And a lot of times in the scene, it's just, you know, especially like, you know, as a Black man, and I'm sure Esther, you'll really can relate to this as well. But there's just probably just some people where it's just like, I don't know if I can have this conversation with you. You know, there's just something about you, just is like, you know what? I want to have this conversation with you, but I have this deep, you know, turning in my stomach that you won't be able to have this conversation in a respectful manner to where we both can grow and learn from each other. And that's sad that there are people just in the world like that in general. Whatever issue that you want to raise, it's just kind of like, I don't feel safe having this I don't feel safe having this conversation with you, so I'm not going to bring it up, you know. And occasionally, you know, I would try that and be like, okay, I know you're going to disagree with me on this, but let's try to have that conversation. Let me go there and do that. But as the scene as a whole, yes, Queen Esther, you're right. A lot of people come out to dance, have fun, to, you know, to put some of their worries, you know, leave them at the front door. But at the same time, we as people in the scene who have a little bit elevated status in the scene, like, we should also not be afraid to say, you know, and that is great. If someone just says, you know, just leave, you know, it's not about politics or it's not about race, it's about having fun and dancing, you know, that's a good opportunity to try to help inform and educate people. Like, actually, yeah, that is true. And that's the same case back then with people going to the Savoy Ballroom because the rest of the world was treating them like shit. And that was their escape. And not being afraid to say that in a respectful manner, no matter what country you're from, no matter what skin color you're from, we should all be able to say that with the badge of, like, you know, of pride, because we are investing our times and our energy and our finances in this art form that came from African American communities. And go ahead.
I agree with what you're saying, but I think it's important to remember that historically, Black people have always been, we have always existed, as my friend Ralph White told me once, we've always existed on the whim of white people. And we have always been a certain kind of escape or amusement or entertainment. I mean, Harlem back in the day, where hundreds of bars and clubs and restaurants were, not, I mean, so many just overwhelming. It's where the world came to have fun. So I think the idea of coming out and on the scene and just enjoying yourself and leaving all of that behind is really important to a lot of people. At the same time, like I was telling Patrick, we are spoiled. We live in New York. You know, I get to play with some of the best musicians in the world. And
Mm-hmm.
when you are a musician and you travel all over the world and you eat good food and you have these wonderful conversations with people who are from other places, it elevates you in a way. And then you know, you're not in Kansas, you're it's just constant. That kind of elevation, it just never stops. You read books and you see art and you know, you hang out with everybody.
Yeah.
It's a wonderful thing, but it's in a way it's our undoing, because
Yes.
you don't really, you're like a house cat that's been put outside when you go to places that aren't like this.
Yes, and you're absolutely right. And that is,
If you know
and
what I mean.
Yeah, oh yeah, no, I completely agree with what you mean, and which is why I've been so kind of, bullish for the fact of, we as a scene, whether it's swing dancing or blues dancing or whatever other dance style that you do, as a scene, we need to stop kind of living in this somewhat fantasy world that Lindy Hop was only happening in Harlem, like just that notion. It's just kind of like that's what I try to do. It's like, hey, no, it just wasn't happening in Harlem. It was happening in somewhere in Nebraska. It was happening in the state of Washington or Montana or California or wherever the case might be. It was happening all over the country, and we have to realize that, not, there's a reason that Harlem was such a special place, and the Harlem Renaissance was such a special movement for Black Americans all over the country, not just people living in Harlem, and and uh, and for people
It's
who.
really good that you know your history.
Oh,
That's
oh, dude, I am a nerd. You have no idea how much of a nerd I am. Okay, all right.
But
Okay.
that aspect of it is really important. I mean, when you talk about, let's say, a dance like the Charleston and variations on the Charleston, and you talk about where it came from, that's a whole world in and of itself. When you start talking about where things originate,
Yeah, well, it's not even so much where things originate, because because it's the fact of that and this is why I'm really trying to stress the importance of really understanding the people and not just focusing so much on the musicians, singers, and dancers, but also the people. Musicians, singers, and dancers make up a small sliver of African American culture, and we need to also realize that we can still understand like how messed up a situation was without them being famous,
Oh,
because
absolutely. Yeah.
yeah, so this whole like, notion of like origin, like I have no problem saying, with a lot of the vocabulary and idiom dances that we do in swing and blues, like I will be proud to say, like, I don't know where the origins is, because sometimes they were influenced by another dance movement or dance style. So when people ask me what's the origin of this dance movement, I'm like, I don't know, but hold on, let's take a time out and understand that things weren't documented from the time of slavery. Things weren't documented in black communities, even after slavery. So to try to pinpoint, the the mini dip that we do, this movement, like where did this movement come from? It's like I don't know. Like this dance is an evolving, evolutionary music and dance form. So to try to focus on, there's some movements we can, like kind of pinpoint, but there's also a lot of things that we do that you can't pinpoint, and that's great, and it's okay that we don't know where they came from. So it's and this is the social context part that I'm always like, constantly like hitting home all the time. But it's important because as a scene, still, at least I feel, my personal opinion, as a scene, that we're still kind of want to stay in this rose-colored glasses area of, oh, every move has a specific origin. Every music style, that we do has a specific origin to it, or, and it's like, no, that's not the case all the time. If you really understand, especially after slavery, how someone can be doing one dance step in let's say California or Southern California, go up to San Diego, learn, pick up a little something there, then take it to New York. And then someone in New York asks this person, like, hey, where'd you learn that? It's like, oh, I don't know. I just did it one day, It's like, it's kind of hard to, pinpoint something that then becomes popular, between all communities in this country or the world. So
It's
and this
interesting
is what
that it's interesting that
and
you're
this,
talking about this with Eyal listening, because
yeah.
he is the dancers band leader. And doing a gig with him, I was really shocked that he actually knows how to dance. Most
Oh yeah.
band leaders,
I mean, of
most
course I
band
know.
leaders don't.
I've seen it. I've seen it before, so I already knew
No,
that he knows how
I
to
danced
dance.
with him. I
So
have
yeah,
danced with him. He can
yes,
do
yes,
6 count and 8 count. Most band
yeah.
leaders do not know
True.
how to
Well,
dance.
This
This
yes,
one
conversation
does.
took a whole
Cait does
other
too.
turn.
Wait a
Cait
minute.
Jones does as well. Cait Jones is an amazing dancer. If you haven't danced with her, she is amazing. So yeah,
And his wife
absolutely.
knows how to dance too. I'm just gonna,
Yeah, yeah.
All right, I'm gonna leave
Yeah.
you. I'm gonna leave you alone, y'all.
No,
But it's surprising,
yeah,
when you think band leaders know how, and most of them don't.
yes, that is true. That is true. But you,
I think it
but
makes a difference with the music they make. That's
yes,
my
yeah.
point.
One
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, but I'm sorry to hijack this, but what I
No,
want to
that's
finish
okay.
what I want to finish just saying this is that to get back to what Patrick was saying was as a scene, like what can we do to go better going forward? My initial thing is that for people who are a little bit more higher elevated in the scene, whether they be musicians, instructors, singers, and things like that, is that we need to be a better bridge connecting not just like the dances and just the songs and the chord structures and things like that, but also the social context and the history of what normal everyday African American people had to deal with back then and currently today, and
I think
how
that's
all of
valid.
that, and how all of that affects the music and the dance that we do, because it all comes from somewhere. Jessica and Bobby were saying how at the end of their performance they had this thing of like people doing their own thing, and I was listening to that and I was like, well, yeah, that's part of the culture. But then to now then if they would to, besides just saying that, but to also say, but also by doing that, we are also respecting the fact that culturally this was a thing in African American culture back then, tying that bridge so people had that connection and that social context. So that's what I mean by kind of being that better bridge. And that takes time and that takes work, a lot of work and a lot of research to do, as I have learned. But it's worth it though if you truly say you love this music and you love this dance. That research is truly worth it to do. So that's all I say. I apologize. I hijacked
No,
it. I'll stop talking.
I 100% agree. I think that's great. I think you hit the nail on the head. When you incorporate history that way and storytelling, it makes all the difference.
And I think the idea of a bridge is super, super important because everyone's coming, kind of like you're all saying, everyone comes at this from different angles and at different times. So, how you bridge to someone who is a beginner to how do you bridge someone who's an advanced dancer and an advanced track at a dance weekend are different, and they're different layers of complexity. So, for example, like, in the before times, I've actually using that a lot, Queen Esther. I think it's a great... in the before times when we were, every Monday at Beer House for 4 years, we have advanced dancers and newbies coming in all the time. So, like, for example, if Odysseus was teaching our beginner class on a random Monday, like a nothing special random Monday at Beer House, where we had a jazz night and live bands and all that kind of stuff, which we took for granted for years. But Odysseus started every single lesson saying, this is swing dancing. I'm going to teach you the beginner step. This comes from the African American culture in Harlem and blah, blah, blah. So it is a 1-sentence bridge. And even that is an important way to, and as a producer, I appreciated that because it's like you're starting that seed. You start that beginning intro. This is how you do a basic step with some context that bridges it to the larger context, right? And so I think, all of the deeper into it you go, the deeper you know, that information to start to come out. And I think to those that are listening that are parts of other scenes, you can do it. You can start it with one sentence, and that's super important, because I think that the idea of the bridge is really important. And also I wanted to point out, Derek made a really interesting point. He said, rather than calling someone out, you call them in. And I think that's also part of bridging, is the idea that it's like everyone has a different context in which they're coming. Like if they show up at a swing dance already, it's like, whoa, you know, because, you know, hearing stories, I mean, even in the interviews we did with Eyal and Cait about how they got into swing dancing, you know, that wasn't the first thing, you know, whether or not it was, and I think it's fascinating, you know, everyone comes at this from a slightly different place, and then they kind of get into it deeper. And I think all of us have been doing that, you know, how we bridge is, I think, something that I want to take away from this and just do more of.
Yeah, that sounds great.
I agree.
So-
And oh, sorry, Queen
No,
Esther.
go ahead.
I think coming back to the imagery and the idea of New York City, when you walk the streets and it is so colorful, but you enter a middle school that you have to test to get into and it's not. So there are a lot of spaces with these contradictions. So how can we make the bandstand look like the streets of New York? How can we make the dance floor look like the streets of New York? You know, again, to call Eyal out, like that's something I've always admired about your band. You have women, you have people of every, like you just represent a wealth of different musicians from different backgrounds, traditional jazz to modern jazz, like everything in between. And I love that. I admire that so much. And it's just something that we all need to do. I mean, I guess this is like me holding myself accountable. I am constantly trying to find female musicians who are not white, who, like, when I hear them, I like, what is your phone number? You know, and maybe they're like way too, you know, they're like way out of my grasp at the moment because they're touring all over the world. But it's just like not being afraid to make that connection, to go after it, is like, I need this to not just be like a one color space, whatever that color is. And then a photo of that event goes out, right? And people see that and they see themselves in that space. And I think that's what's so important, and that can be a bridge too.
I think if not in New York, then where else? Like, you know, it's not like I need to go out of my way. It's not like I need to go out of my way to find tremendous musicians that I'll be like super grateful if they'll be willing to play with me, you know, from different backgrounds, or just, I don't know. It makes me feel more comfortable when this is why I chose to be in this city, you know? And I think that, that this is for somebody who came here from another country and from another culture and from another language and all of that. I mean, I'm proud to be on this conversation and to hear you guys and to think out loud with you and to amplify these voices and to learn from it. And, you know, I think it's all of our jobs, you know, as the smaller community of the Lindy Hop / whatever else you want to call it, or the jazz scene, or the New York scene, or the world. It's not as hard as it should be. Yeah, I mean, it's not hard as it might look to someone. Like, you know, everything is here, as far as, like, you know, different voices, different tastes, different people. I don't know, different orientations, everything. You know, and if it's
we're
important,
spoiled.
In that sense, we are spoiled. Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think any of those people who rushed the Capitol know any Black people?
Besides Candace Owens? I don't know.
I mean, do you think, I'm not Eyal, I'm not putting you on the spot at all. I'm sorry.
Yeah, why don't we stop with that?
I'm not, I'm saying, I apologize for interrupting you. That's what I meant to say. But I mean, those people who rush the Capitol, it's a rhetorical question. It's just something to think about. But do you think they honestly know any Black people or any Jewish people?
Not meaningfully.
The people who are wearing those hateful T-shirts, about the Holocaust. Do you think they ever met anyone that was Jewish? I mean,
yeah.
That's one of the things I was thinking as well. It's like, do you know any Black women? It boggles the mind. But I'm spoiled.
Yeah.
Well, I think that gets to your point, Queen Esther, about traveling. If we just travel, there's so much accomplished. Go to another country and just like see the world from outside of the United States.
That guy from Arkansas, is he, I mean.
Well, I'm again, there are two Americas, and we're talking about the America that will travel. And luckily right now they are in a small majority, and I'll take it.
Well, they traveled to DC, I mean, they were certainly willing to travel on their own terms. I think there's a lot of traveling that you can do right where you are. I just don't know. I can't imagine that any of those people will have reached out to anyone that's different from them. I don't know. Or if they do have friends that are Black, what do they say to them after having done something like that?
You're not one of them, so we're not talking about you. I mean, I get that all the time growing up as a kid, and in Florida. So that famous saying of like, "Oh, we're not talking about you." It's just like, okay, didn't know what it meant at the time, but I sure know what it means now, all these years later. But yes, I mean that's the kind of comment that is said.
A lot of that, I mean, that kind of ability to sustain the cognitive dissonance of having this kind of like exclusive idea of a group of people, and then still being able to like have a friend that fits into that group but maintain them differently. I think a lot of the issues with reconciling that comes back again to what you guys were talking about with education. Like, if you don't have the ability to travel, if you don't have the financial means to do so, if you don't have the inclination to do so because you're comfortable at home, I think a lot of what we see stems from people just being comfortable in their own little echo chambers, being comfortable. They're surrounded by people that totally agree with them all the time. They get their news from people who agree with them all the time. They don't have the benefit that we do of living, like we've been talking about, in New York, in a place where if you don't give some measure of like just common courtesy and respect to the people around you, you're not going to survive. Like, you can't get on the subway train unless you're willing to give a little bit of ground. Like, you just, it's harder to get by without having to face the fact that people around you are different and come from different experiences. And if you haven't grown up in an environment where there is a diversity of life experience and where there is a diversity of, of education and experience, like education is I think the first step along that road to understanding, to even just being introduced to the idea that people grow up under different circumstances than you. They had different experiences to get to who they are today. And like, you can acknowledge that. And then that's a step to moving forward. And circling back to, Patrick's original question of what we can do as ourselves, like, we're already doing the first step. Like, every single person that is still on this chat right now is already part of like that group that's willing to stick around and just listen to this conversation. And every single one of us bears a responsibility to help shoulder the burden of that education, of trying to make sure that anybody who does come to this dance or to this music has at least a minimum standard of understanding where this music is rooted and the community it comes from, and acknowledging that. Like, there should not be a new swing dancer anywhere that walks out of a beginner lesson anywhere in this country or another country and does not know that this is fundamentally a Black American art form. If they do, I think their teacher has failed them, like from day one. And everybody, like, that's one of the like tiniest steps that, you know, every single person can take. When people ask you about swing dancing, like, what is swing dancing? You know, you tell them, well, it's this fantastic Black American art form that started rooted in blues and jazz music. And like, you build it from there, as opposed to, you know, talking about steps or talking about specific clips.
Yeah, I don't think there's any other way to do it. I think you're absolutely right. If you really want to understand it, you know.
I mean, I think it's also like you bring people in, like this, like we're doing this because we love the music, we love the dance. There's something that like brought us in, because this is still a niche, you know. Like to get into jazz and to get into swing dancing, you know, it's not pop culture anymore. It was back in the day, but it's not anymore. So like, you know, bringing people in and kind of starting that awareness. I mean, I think it's a lot of like my job, I think, is being just as aware of the newbies as it is of the advanced dancers, because this is how we build a community. This is how we keep it moving forward, bringing new people in and building and growing, you know. You know, we probably should wrap this up. We've been going.
Yeah.
But you know, one thing I just wanted to say, just kind of hearing what some of you were saying also, like if we bring some of this back to what's happening even in the pandemic, like if you think about America and how badly we're doing with the virus and how many sick people there are, and it kind of is manifesting itself, this problem of, I think, selfishness and not being aware of other people. And what Cait was saying about living in New York, like those of us that grew up in New York, it's like there's people around, you have to be aware of other people, you have to take other people into context, because they're everywhere, you know. So it's just, you're aware of other people, you're always giving and taking, and I think there is like true New Yorkers, there's a sense of awareness, and like, yes, you're a little tough, but there's, you know, there's a give and take, and like when, you know, not being selfish and not being so self-absorbed that you can't think of other people, and like not wearing a mask on the most basic level, and people, like the amount of people that are sick in this country, it like literally is manifesting itself in proving, like what's the thing that Dr. Fauci said, like, I shouldn't have to tell people to care about other people and wear a mask, because you wear a mask for other people, you don't necessarily wear it for yourself, right? And it's just like, just be considerate, just be aware. And I think it goes back, like so many of these problems that we've had this week just goes down to, it's like stuff you should have learned in kindergarten, you know, like play nicely with others, you know, be aware, be respectful, you know, everyone's a little bit different, enjoy that, you know, it's a feature, not a bug, you know. I mean, and I think as we go out into the world, I mean, like right now, yes, we're all quarantined. This is the time to think and to, you know, connect with yourself, connect with what you're going to do after, in the after times, you know. Like, so I think this is in a way good that we're having a conversation. Like, I didn't know what was going to happen going into all this, but I'm glad we did, because I think, you know, at some point in the next few months, we're going to be going back out into the world, and whether it's spreading music or dance or fashion or food or whatever it is, we're going to be going back and interacting with people again. And I think the idea of bridging, of bringing people in and just talking and sharing, you know, and it's not like preaching, it's not making a big thing of it. It's just like, this is what it is, you know, let's do better, because we've all been through some shit in the last year, and let's not let that happen again. All right.
Well said.
And it's always better over wine and food. So, you know, yes, cheers. Well, look, thank you guys for, you know, jumping in and chatting and kind of putting yourselves in vulnerable positions and having to kind of say stuff. I really appreciate you all jumping in on this. Odysseus, do you want to still play some tunes? You still good with that? Or?
Yeah, absolutely.
All right, cool. So on that note, I just want to remind everyone we're back in 2 weeks. January 23rd will be our next live stream of the Quarantine Speakeasy. We've got Jonathan Stout. He's going to be doing some live jams and drinks, and we're working out the rest of the lineup. and we'll be posting that next week. We'll be having this show. We'll be on our YouTube probably tomorrow night or Monday. If you haven't done so already, donations are gladly appreciated. We thank you all who have watched, who have donated, and who have just thought about this, what we're talking about here. And please go out there, share some of this music and dancing and love, and help bridge us all together so we don't have the stuff that happened in the last week happen again. There we go.
Thank you, Patrick, for giving us the space for us and for the scene and the stage to share these thoughts and feelings and all of that, and the music and everything.
Yeah. Well, we're all in it together.
Thank you to all of you guys. It's been a pleasure to be part of this conversation.
All right, thanks, guys. All right, take it away, Odysseus. See you guys later.
Okay. Hello, everyone. My name is ODYSSEUS BAILER. And to start off this after party, I'm playing a song by Duke Ellington called Red Hot Band. Now, the significance of this song is kind of goes back to Louis Armstrong, kind of first coming to New York City and basically showing the world what jazz music is going to be like, going forward. So after Mr. Duke Ellington heard Louis Armstrong play with Fletcher Henderson and really loved the kind of jazz he was playing, the Louisiana get on your feet, just really kind of swinging jazz music. And story goes that after he heard Louis Armstrong, he wanted everyone, on the instruments to kind of play like Louis Armstrong or play like his style. So he went out, got a trumpet player whose name just eluded me. I completely forgot the trumpet player's name for this particular song that Duke Ellington hired. But the song, though, is called Red Hot Band, and I will try to find the name of that individual and tell you before the song is over.
Hey,
but here is Duke.
Before you start that, I'm going to give you a minute to research that, because Deborah just reminded me, thank you very much, that we are doing the after party. So if you want to join in, what that means is that we're going to open this up. So anyone that wants to do a little dancing to Odysseus's DJing, we're going to play a few tunes like we do at the end of every show. And I can invite you in to the video, and we're going to open this up. So if you want to do some dancing at home, super cool. What you have to do is on the chat, if you're in Zoom, just let me know that you want to join in, and I will invite you. I have to move you from a attendee to a panelist, and then just turn on your video, and you will be in there. So yes, I am going to start adding you now. So I'm going to also put this into gallery view once again. And Odysseus, when you want to take it away, go for it.
Okay, and here is the song.
All right, good night, everyone. Ciao. Nice.